men, and I use the term loosely. Welcome to part one of two videos about rebuilding this crusty old mag. This thing's been laying around here a couple of years, and I finally decided it was time to get around to doing something with it. So we're going to be using it as a hot spare. Stay tuned. It's a long story. When I had it running on my lathe, testing it, it made a knocking noise. Well, you know, there's no connecting rods in here. There's nothing that should really knock. I think what I was hearing was this backlash in this gear. Actually, this isn't even backlash. The pin that holds the gear to the shaft, it's the right size for the gear, but it's too small for the shaft. And I think the shaft, the hole in the shaft has been wallowed out. And I think what the solution is going to be is to drill another hole in the shaft. The gear is hardened and I can't drill through it. So I'm going to have to drill the right size hole through the shaft. But I think what's happening is, as the magneto is rotating, the gear is trying to pull the shaft through the magnetic field, and it loads it to one side of the pin. When it gets to the other side of the magnetic field, the shaft wants to snap back in the opposite direction to remain in the magnetic field. The magnetic field is holding it. So this pin bangs against the shaft every time that happens. So that would be twice a revolution? Yeah, because it's a two-pole magnet. So I think if I fix that, it'll fix the knocking noise. I mean, that's kind of a lot of free playing something. So we're going to do that. The other thing that's wrong with this is the holes have been stripped out, and there's a 1/4-inch screw in there. I mean, the 1/4-inch screw works. The problem is that the heads of the screw are too big for the cap, and I have to turn down this edge over here to get it small enough to fit into this recess so that it'll go in straight and not put pressure on the cap and probably cause it to crack eventually. A guy could do that, but I think I want to replace the cap, and I don't want to have to drill holes in the cap, in a new cap as soon as I go to put it on the mag. So I want to fix the threads in here. And for good measure, I think I'm going to put a new coil in it. I bought one probably over a year ago, and it's been sitting around waiting for me to get around to this particular operation. And, I just flipped this over and I looked at it. I think this is cracked right here. It's a little crack. Yeah, this screw boss is cracked right here. And I wouldn't be surprised if when I get this off, I find out that all of the support screws, the point hole down, the other hole down, the spot for the condenser, I wouldn't be surprised if these are all stripped out and elongated. So I might have to buy a new upper bearing support. They are available still, and I bet this ain't cheap. So we're going to pull it apart and start working on it. So let's get this gear off of here. And they've really got the end of this pin peened over, so we're going to grind that off. I'm going to flip it over and get the other side. We're going to have to bang on it a little bit. Alright, hopefully a few light taps will get it moving, hopefully. Well, not get it moving that way. Alright, I put a C-clamp on it. Hopefully the gear will stay still. Good, it's moving. Beautiful. That's that. I got the mag supported on the top here by putting it upside down in a vise. So it's evenly supported on both jaws of the vise. Sometimes these screws are a real bitch. Well, that one was loose. That one was loose. And that one was loose. And that one was loose. Yeah, these were lucky. Sometimes they're very hard to get out. Man, I only lost one screw. There it is. And that takes care of that. Okay, the gear doesn't want to pull off the shaft. I think the shaft has been mushroomed out a little bit. So I'm going to use a Dremel tool and go around it and just try to clean that up a little bit. See if that worked. Nope. Nope. Let's pry on it a little bit. Oh, there we go. Cool. Let's see if the base comes off. Whoa, comes off easy. Okay. Right here, the tack drive gear has been chewed off. The magnet in the shaft, the rotor, is available still. However, the rotors with the spiral gear for the tack drive are not available, at least the last time I checked. And it does have some scoring on it. I'm going to try to clean this up in the lathe, and we're going to see, I don't know, see how tight or loose this bushing is. Boy, that is just swimming in there. Oh yeah, the shaft is going to need to be cleaned up, and these bushings are going to need to be replaced. Alright, so we'll take the bearing support out, and these screws are very loose. Usually they're a lot tighter than that. Get the points out too, and that's, well, who knows, that's not tight at all. Yeah, this boss for the condenser mounting screw is definitely cracked. This is stripped. This one looks okay, but we're going to get a new one. There's supposed to be a snap ring in here. It's missing. Let's see if I could just tap this a little bit to knock it out. And this is why the bottom is mushroomed over. That doesn't look like it's moving. I'm going to go put this in the press and push it out so I don't damage anything. The shaft came out of the bearing pretty easily. It was snug, but it wasn't too bad. So it popped out of there pretty easily, and it didn't break anything on the way out. See the skid marks on the side over here? The magnet has been banging on the poles, which doesn't help the performance any. That may be because this bearing is loose, although it actually feels pretty good. I don't feel any wobble in there, but who knows? This thing is ancient. And there it goes. With the rotor banging on the pole shoes and the chewed up bushing, I think this bearing is probably going to be replaced, so I'm not concerned about damaging it, although I suspect it's going to come out pretty easy. Well, that's actually harder than I thought it was going to be. It is moving now. And that's it. This is completely disassembled. Yeah, the bearing has got quite a bit of wobble in it, so it'll get a new one. Man, these things go through hell. It's amazing they work. I was looking at this bushing, and I don't know, it looks like it's got a wall thickness of about 50 thou, maybe 40. So you would think that I'd be able to catch that lip on the inside over here and maybe knock it out with the screwdriver or punch or something, but you could barely feel the lip. It's more pronounced on one side than the other side, so it's probably all wallowed out. It's probably egg-shaped down in there. So we're going to try a removal method. I'm going to partially thread a 1/2" 20 tap in there. It's catching a few threads. It's about the inside diameter of the hole is about 490, so I'm not cutting a lot of metal out of the inside of that bushing. I hope I'm cutting enough that when I knock it through in this direction, there's enough engagement that it won't just knock the tap out without knocking the bushing out. Okay, we'll give it a couple of smacks and see if that bushing moves. It is moving. You can see it's starting to come out just barely. So this probably will work. And there it goes. Look at that. That's just about a knife edge around there. That is sharp. Hardly anything left of it. Look at how loose this thing is on the shaft. I got the magnet chucked up in the forejaw. I zeroed it out on this area right here because it looked as straight as anything I could find. Got it down to less than a thou. Turned the lathe on, and the end of the shaft was whipping back and forth. This end was not straight by plus or minus 40. I mean, it was just all over the place. With a little due diligence and this, tapped it pretty much straight. Turn it on for you so you can see. That's as good as I could get it. And the other thing I was looking at is how badly the shaft was worn. This end of the shaft is 0.476. This end of the shaft is 0.512. So 25 thousandths difference, plus or minus a little bit from here to here. That's a lot. Anyway, I'm going to have to peel 25 thou off of this thing to get it back straight. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm at 0.460. I'm just going to touch that with a little, like, 1,800 grit. Yeah, that's nice. That'll work good. So this is done. Alright, I got the mag base chucked up over here. I'm a little concerned that it got dropped or something or whatever, whacked in an accident, and that the base might be bent a little bit. So, I mean, this thing is real rough. We'll see what it looks like. I mean, that's all that flickering around is just the roughness of the material. Alright, here's a bead blasted and wire brushed version. Still all over the place, but it looks like the flange is not running true by about 5 thou. I think I'm going to face across that and take a couple of thou off. I think I'm going to leave it right there. I might put it on a surface plate and smooth some of the roughness off. And let's throw the dial indicator on it and see what it looks like now. Alright, it went from about 5 to about 2. I'm going to call that good. I don't want to take too much more metal off of there. Next thing I'm going to do is make some thread inserts for the stripped out holes. I got some 5/16, 18 threaded rod. The holes in the mag housing have been drilled and tapped for 1/4 20. That makes the hole too big for a Healy coil, so I'm going to make my own inserts. We'll see how this goes. I got to drill a hole, of course, and then tap it for a 1024 thread. And these little taps, they're very delicate. They want to break, but we'll see how it goes. Got the rod center drill. On something like this, I usually make the drill one size bigger than the chart calls off for. It makes it easier to tap. Alright, I got my 1024 tap, my tap follower. I really hate doing these. These taps break so easy. And that's really all of that you need to see. 3 more to go and I'll be done. One of 4, 3 to go. I got the mag body just clamped down on the mill table, and I manipulated X and Y to get this drill bit centered on this hole. We're going to take that drill bit out. We're going to put in a letter F because that's the chart size for a 5/16 tap. And we're going to drill it for a 5/16 tap. I'm going to go until it hits the bottom of the hole. Do this 3 more times, and the mag will be modified to install the threaded inserts. This is part of this project I've been waiting for. This is, they call it a deburring wheel, and 3M makes them. This is not the 3M, this is the cheap Chinese one. I bought a Chinese one and I got a brand new 3M one waiting in the wings, so to speak. This has lasted far longer than I thought it was going to. And I don't know if you ever used one of these things. They're kind of a hard woven, well, not woven, but a kind of a random matrix of fibers, and they're somewhat compliant. I mean, it'll compress and move a little bit, but most of the mags I do. Guys want it for like restoration, so I don't do any real polishing on them. I don't want to fuck them up, but this is going to be mine. It's a spare, and look at this hump on it. I want to get rid of that in the worst way. So we're going to see how this works. Well, the big hump is gone. Decent finish, so I'm going to do the whole thing and see how it looks. Alright, just got done rinsing her off in the parts washer, blowing all the crud out of it. I think it looks pretty good. Just getting rid of that giant mold seam in the back makes me feel better. The last thing I'm going to do to this for a while, because I got to figure out how I'm going to make the bushings for this, and this is going to be a little tricky because, the bushing covers this amount of area, and, if I've got to bore it to the right size, you want to stick it in the lathe like this, but there's nothing here that's really good to grab onto. I might be able to grab it back here and dial it in, but the likelihood is that I'm going to probably stick it in the lathe this way. Then I'm going to need a long skinny boring bar to bore that bushing to the right size to fit the shaft, which is now a custom diameter. But anyway, that's tomorrow's problem. The last thing I want to do today is put in my little thread inserts. And I'm going to do that like this. I'm going to put a washer and a screw on there. And I'm going to try not to get red Loctite. And I know Loctite is evil, I know. I'm going to try not to get red Loctite down inside. I just want it on these outside threads. And I will let that set up until tomorrow. And let's get the other 3 in. Alright. Repair accomplished. This video is pretty near 30 minutes long already. That's about as long of a video as I like to watch, so that's about as long of a video as I like to make. But I'm nowhere near done with this thing. So I took a poll on Patreon, and my Patreon members decided it was better to break it into 2 videos instead of doing one long video. So we're going to cut this video off right about now. If you want to continue watching the journey and the transformation of this magneto being a clapped out piece of worn out shit into a decent mag, tune in next week and we'll have the conclusion. And next week's video is shaping up to be a pretty long video too. Going to cover a lot of ground. We're going to make bushings. We're going to do some test runs on it, do final assembly, of course. And, there's a lot more involved with these things than people think there is. But anyway, tune in next week for the conclusion of this video. And while I'm here, hey, Coffee cups. Get your coffee cups. Get your stickers. The new Ironhead Cycle ones are being distributed right now. There's a few of these left. If you order any stickers in the next little while here, I'll get you one of each unless you specify one or the other. Rapidly running out of these. There's really only a few left, and you'll be getting the after that you'll be getting the new design. Yeah, and I took a poll on this one too, and this one lost, but I liked it, and I get to make the decision. So anyway, new stickers. Help me out, buy a sticker. In the meantime, I am out of here. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate your support. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and we'll see ya with the conclusion next week.